Hey, what is up guys? This is Acted 4 playing Killing Floor 2. I'd just like to take a moment to talk about the perks that they've added into the game, and I'd just like to talk about your average team, your composition, and how things work together in an interlocking, friendly manner. So, we had the Gunslinger here. This is a new perk. We also have the SWAT, so these are the two new perks they've added to Killing Floor. Now first of all, I'd just like to talk about the Gunslinger, and then we'll talk about the SWAT member. The Gunslinger is a dual pistoled person. You can see in the XP objectives, dealing Gunslinger weapon damage, headshots with Gunslinger weapons. The main point there being the headshots. This is a mix between Sharpshooter and Commando because of the high fire rate from the Commando. And the Sharpshooter is also a sniper, so you can kind of see the combination coming into play there. I played a bit of Gunslinger, you can see by the experience just above. I played it for a round and then I died on the easiest difficulty. I'm pretty bad at it, but the recoil is really strong with a Gunslinger. It's not per se my type of perk, because I played Berserker back in Killing Floor, the first game, and I'm just not used to the whole recoil thing because I was always using katanas. Yeah, pretty bad of me. Gunslingers, if you can play them well, if you crouch and you look down your sights, and you can line up lots of headshots. Their grenades are nail bombs, which stuns enemies. This is an effective perk against sirens and flesh pounds. Not so much against bloats, which is the main problem in the setup that we're about to go through. Bloats don't really have a weakness, except for with firebugs, and we'll get to that in a minute, or in a few minutes depending. There isn't really much else to say about the Gunslinger. It's just a mix between Commando and Sharpshooter, but leaning more towards the Commando side, which is faster fire rate, but with that headshotting mechanic. You can do a lot of damage with Gunslinger, really. More effective than Commando, but Commando does have the perk of seeing cloaked Zeds, which would be stalkers and the Patriarch boss at the end of your game. Now the SWAT is a special tactical unit that they've added in some recent update. I wasn't there when they've added it, so I don't know when they've added it, but they've got the flashbang. I'm not too sure what it does. I've never played a SWAT. From what I've read online, thanks to the wiki, thank you wiki, they do a lot of damage with one of the higher tier weapons. They are also a sponge for damage, as you can see here, bullet resistance. They also have some other form of resistance, but this would be a great frontline perk, much like the Berserker against bosses. More against the two bosses, Hans and the Patriarch, who use machine guns to mow down the players. Now, what's great about the SWAT is that I can see them becoming viable, extremely viable, because they are really good right now. There's a new update coming out soon that introduces shields and maces as a combination. I can see the SWAT member using that shield to block extra damage, and of course closing that gap between enemies. SWAT is also a frontline perk. I think I already said that, but it's effective in team play. And now I guess we'll talk about the whole team layout or composition, and we'll also introduce SWAT and Gunslinger to that rotation towards the end. So first of all, I'd like to talk about Demolitionist, one of the most important perks in Killing Floor 2. Demolitionist deals the highest damage. They have limited ammo, which is a bit of a weakness, but they can wipe out hordes of enemies if they are at a safe distance, which is a far range. If they shoot at a close range, their missiles will not go off. Their grenades are also really effective, but they do have that weakness of sirens, unfortunately, because the missiles and their grenades will be nullified by the siren scream. Demolitionist is also very good against flesh pounds, as you can see in the objectives. And we'll have more to talk about Demolitionist after we go through the other perks. Firebug is the Demolitionist buddy, usually using the flamethrower. Firebug also controls the Zeds in a fearful term. As you can imagine, if you're set on fire, you'd probably go around screaming your head off. So this is very good at neutralizing enemies without killing them, such as flesh pounds. You can nullify a flesh pound using a firebug, and you can also easily kill a siren or nullify a siren using a firebug. So Demolitionists would love to have a close range firebug on their team. As well, you want to have a field medic to heal your team up and keep everyone alive, of course. And the Berserker is really important in your team, because your Berserker is the parry person, so they take about a 20th, or sorry, a 5th of the damage that they would usually do if they weren't they would usually take a 5th of the damage they would take if they weren't parrying. And they usually aggro enemies off of their teammates, which means that field medics, demolitionists don't have to move around as much. They don't have to panic. And this is also great for the field medic because it means there's less people to heal. The Berserker is also grabbing all the attention. Now, you could use a support. Support is very important on smaller maps like Biotics Labs and Extraction Point, where there's not much room for escape or positioning. Now, what's great about the support is that they can rebuild doors that have been broken down, and Demolitionist would love to have a support on the team, because Demolitionist can set door traps, which means a lot of enemies would just blow up the moment the door goes down, and the support has plenty of time to rebuild that door when the wave ends. So this is great for the support. The support's not only great with doors, they're also great with hallways, which is why the smaller rooms are to their advantage rather than to the Zeds. The support are usually frontliners with their shotguns sweeping the floor, and usually keeping the Demolitionist and the field medic safe, along with the Berserker supporting the support, as funny as that sounds. I'm not sure what else to say about that, because they are a small room player, but they wouldn't usually be used on maps like Burning Paris or the radio room map, so they're not very good with open areas. They'd be good on a map like Farmhouse down the top floor, you know, setting up the doors on the top floor, along with the Demolitionist setting up the traps for those doors. That could be quite a volatile experience. So now you've got 5 members on your team. You've got the Demolitionist, you've got the Firebug, that's 2, Field Medic and Support 4, and Berserker 5. Commando, Gunslinger, Sharpshooter and SWAT now has to compete for the 6th slot. Now it depends on usually what you want to do, but a Commando is only really useful against Stalkers, which would get wiped away from the Support and the Demolitionist put together. So the Commander is really nullified here. The only good thing about them is that they can track down the Patriarch boss, because he turns invisible and runs away super fast. The SWAT member is good because he can sponge up the boss rifle damage along with the Berserker by their side, so you can have 2 meat shields in front of you and the rest of the 4 members at the back. charging towards the boss, which is fantastic. And they can also rotate if Hands is deciding to run around and meleeing everybody. Gunslinger is probably the best choice if you're not using SWAT. Sharpshooter is great, does a lot of damage with headshots, usually better with sirens and flesh pounds, but Gunslinger is usually a more rounded perk, which is great against clots and gorefasts. Anyway, thank you very much, and next video we'll test this out. See ya.